Hello, welcome to another episode of Solar Sales Uncensored. I am your host, Aaron Browning, and I am excited for another super strong episode with my good friend, Mr. Craig Blume. Before I bring him up onto the studio stage, I want to give his quick background. He also is a business partner of mine. He's absolutely killing it. Anytime I want to see him, I have to go to a networking event because that is where he spends his days. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. He is the king of live events, whether that's recruiting events to build his team, or in my opinion, what he does at a really high level is selling solar through live events. And we're going to take a deep dive on everything events, everything networking with what I call the hardest working man in solar. So without further ado, Craig, how the heck are you, my friend?
Hi, Aaron. Thanks, brother. I really appreciate you inviting me on. I'm excited. Excited to
100%.
Yeah, let's do this.
I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So for our audience that hasn't had the privilege of meeting you yet, do you mind giving your quick, I don't know, 2 minute background and how you got introduced to solar?
Yeah, sure. So I've been in the sales game for a while. I joined Grant Cardone. So I was folks in the room that know Grant Cardone, the 10X, right? Was part of his accelerator program, and I was on a breakout session, and I met the fellow by the name of Bill Conley. Anybody know that name?
I do.
Right. So Bill Conley is my mentor. He's based in California. Bill introduced this to me a little over 2 years ago, and I was working a full daytime job then. I was selling windows and doors for Renewal by Anderson. And so what I did is I came to, as of, I guess, November 1 is really when I started this full time. I had a little, forgive me, a come to Jesus meeting is how I kind of refer to it. That, look, if I'm the Michael Jordan of selling windows and doors for Renewal by Anderson, can I make a bigger impact? Can I make more money doing that? Or am I better off in solar? I think everyone on this call now knows the answer to that. So I am full time in solar, and there is no greater industry than what we're in right now, Aaron. Fully believe it.
So I've heard you say that, and I love that. Paint a better picture, if you don't mind, man, for someone who is, and a lot of our audience isn't in solar yet. What do you mean by that? Really, if you don't mind actually sharing details.
Absolutely.
Like if you were the best at that former company doing windows and doors, what are you making?
Yeah, so the best of that company, you're probably cracking at minimally six figures. 3 to 500,000 is what the average person makes there. Could you make upwards to seven figures? Yeah, there's a couple in the company doing that. And there are plenty of folks doing that here in our particular company in Power, right? So there's really it's a no-brainer. I said to myself, look, the trifecta, am I getting at this at the right time? Yes, absolutely. Am I in the right industry? Yes, absolutely. This industry is just getting started. We're on the cusp of going viral. This thing it's just wild. And so right industry, right time, right company, absolutely I have the right company.
Yeah, I love it. We talk on many episodes about the timing. For my real estate days, I've been pitched a lot of opportunities, and unfortunately, the timing on almost all of them is off, meaning it's already passed. I tell people all the time, I think we're at that tipping point. I think the solar speak is they're saying, we're between 3 and 4% market share. I'll speak for you and I because we actually are in the same area in Virginia and Maryland. I think we're below 2%.
Yeah.
So timing, I couldn't echo that enough. Okay, so he hit you up. You respected him from the Grant Cardone. The 10Xer community is strong. I've been a part of that as well, which I didn't know about you. That's awesome. What did that conversation look like? Did he leverage a video? Did he have to explain everything?
So,
or did you instantly get it?
Yeah, no, great. I mean, look, I dabbled many years ago in solar with a local firm when I was selling copying machines. I did that for 3 decades. I retired out of the copying industry in December of 2019 and then went into a couple of different things and then Renewal by Anderson. So when Bill and I were on that breakout session, he pitched the solar and I was interested in it, right? I know it's coming. People have been talking about this thing. I wasn't able to give it my all. So we need to plug in. You needed to be part of the meetings and be in a BNI referral group or do the exhibits and the things that I like to do, get myself out there. I wasn't able to do it. My hands were tied. So a lot of folks will come into this particular industry and they'll come in part-time. And I get it. And that's okay, right? If it's your MO, that's what works for you, do it. But for me, I couldn't plug in. So it was frustrating for me. Bill was like, Craig, you jumping on the meeting today? Bill, I can't. I'm in a meeting. I got appointments all day. I'm working 7 days a week selling windows. When do I plug into this? Didn't have time. When I made I refer to oh gosh. What's the fellow that does the talk show? Hate this. He jumps off the cliff, right? You jump off the cliff. Okay. I did. So I literally jumped off the cliff and I've never looked back.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. We could do a whole episode on that. Is the part-time warriors? 13 years in real estate. Believe me, we are just filled to the brim of part-timers. It's really hard. I started part-time too, so I totally get it. There's no judgment if that's what your schedule allows, but you got to be really purposeful with the
Yes.
part-time hours you're giving any industry, especially solar real estate, where you're trying to service a client at a high level, man. And I love that you too realize that by leaning in, by getting around that campfire, that's what I call it, hearing the stories, learning, honing your skills on the craft, even though you had a vast sales experience, it changes everything.
Of course.
Changes everything for you. Okay, so fast forward to now. Were you always successful in the other sales jobs by doing live events and that sort of thing, or was it brand new for you here?
Yes, a little bit of that. Look, I also had a medical company. My mother invented an OBGYN gown, and I traveled around the country for about 10 years actually going to
What
conventions.
haven't you done,
Yeah,
man?
I'm telling you, bro. Been doing a couple of things. And so I had experience doing trade shows. And so that was part of that. And so when I sold for the copying machines for advanced business systems, we would have shows at the office product center. In fact, that's how I got the job. I went to the convention center downtown Baltimore before the internet was going on, and I passed out resumes. And so you couldn't look up a company. You could go to the library and maybe try to find out who the company was. But so I joined 40 years ago in that industry. So fast forward to today, it's a whole different ballgame. So yeah, so I have done some of these things, being successful in sales. I was the top guy at Advance, the copier company, for a couple of decades. And so was doing well. And they kept saying, Craig, the industry is going to change. You need to look at something else. Nah, I'm fine. I'm doing fine. It happened overnight.
That's what people say.
Yeah. So look, Aaron, what I would like to say is we're lucky. We're lucky as people if we're able to find one opportunity in life like this. One life-changing opportunity. Maybe if you're really lucky, you'll get two. But the reality is the universe is tapping you on the shoulder. Here it is. Here's an opportunity. It's going to change our lives. It's going to change a lot of people's lives on this industry, right? You accept it, you recognize it, you understand it, you're prepared, you're in the right place at the right time. Is that luck? No, you're just prepared. You see it, you go for it. Action. Right? Action. Walk through the door. Open it up. Let's go. And so,
yeah, it's funny on the action piece, man. I do a lot of team building. I love recruiting. I love blessing people with this amazing opportunity that is solar, especially with our company. Most people, when they see it, they take action. They get it and they jump all in. Oh my gosh, I saw enough. Like, how do I start? You'll run into a few, and I want to call it 25, 30%, perhaps maybe as high as 35, who are like, I got to review it. I need more information. Right. Guys and gals, when the opportunity is in front of you, you freaking jump all in. The best people that I've been in business with, whether it's solar, real estate, whatever else I was doing, they took massive action, to Craig's point. Massive freaking action. You don't need to have all the answers. You're going to figure it out later. Yeah. But for those of you sitting on the sideline who have been listening to the podcast for several months, solar sounds interesting. Do I do it? You're already missing. Like, you're already missing out. Freaking jump in.
Jump in.
A couple of things you said, BNI. It amazes me how few solar professionals are actually a part of BNI. Can you give a bird's eye view of what BNI is and how it works?
Yeah, I find that kind of strange because the BNI is something that I really enjoy. So BNI is an acronym for Business Network International. It is an international, I call it a leads group or referral group. And the interesting thing is you meet once a week, right? And so when you look at these groups and you look at who's in the groups, there's a realtor, there's a roofer, there's an insurance guy, there's a lawyer, there's all different verticals. And you first come in and go, wait a minute, that's really not the connection that I'm looking for when I'm trying to sell solar. But these people own homes and they know people that own homes. And anyone who owns a home is a prospect. And guess what? There's 86 million homes yet to go untapped. It's untapped, folks. Untapped. Hello? Hello? So when I sit in front of a homeowner and I explain this presentation, they go, Craig, that's amazing. That's amazing. Why isn't everyone doing this? And I say, because I can't sit in front of 86 million people all at the same time. So that's why we're doing this podcast, Aaron. We're going to help as many people as we can up front. Quick, here's the Cliff Notes. It works. It makes sense.
I love it. How long have you been in BNI for solar?
So BNI, look, so I've been in I joined for 2 years. And so November will be, like I said, I started November 1, really officially jumped off the ledge and came lock, stock, and barrel. That's when I joined, BNI. And then there's a fee for that, right? And so what BNI does, the philosophy is giver's gain, meaning that it's not, hey, give me leads. I'm providing leads to the other partners in the BNI. And there's 25 people in the group. So I've got 25 other salespeople that know my business almost as well as I do, because every week we give our 30 seconds. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what's going on. Here's the market trends. I'm educating my people So when they walk in and they're doing their business, they're selling insurance, the roofer guy, this type of thing, when they're out doing their job, if any of these triggers happen, they instantly know to pass that to me. And then it's a warm referral. It's not a, hey, I know a guy. I know someone. Here, call Bob. Does Bob know you? No, but no, I heard Bob saying he wanted to go solar. They know Bob, and Bob's their friend, and Bob just bought a house from them. And so now they're saying, you need to meet Craig. And a lot of times it's an introduction. So they're layups. And I'm saying that to be derogatory in any stretch. You still earn the business and you help the homeowner, but you have a much better relationship coming to the table through BNI. So I did that. And
can I unpack that for a second?
Please, go ahead.
It's important. Yeah. So I learned this in real estate. For those watching the video portion of this versus the traditional podcast, almost view a triangle. And so you have the person in the BNI group that is facilitating the referral. You have Craig on the left and you have the lead on the right. It's a triangle of love, if you will, of service. Yep. So Craig does not want to let down the referral partner. So he's going to give 110% to that lead. Here's the magic part that people don't talk about. The lead doesn't want to let their friend down. So he or she is going to be super polite, super receptive to what Craig is doing. So all three people are trying to serve each other at a really high level. That is what makes that warm handoff, I think, just fire, versus chasing leads where you don't have that. You're not edified. You weren't lifted up. Another thing you mentioned too, and I want to make sure we're clear on this, two things. One is, what is the fee? And a second. The second one, I want to make sure that people really get this. There's only one person per field or per industry in that group.
Yep.
Yeah. Is that correct? Do you want to touch on that?
Right. Yeah. So that is a requirement, right? So there's only one person per each vertical. So there can only be one solar salesperson in the BNI group, right? One roofer, one insurance guy. Now insurance is different. There'd be life insurance. Anyway, so you get the idea. It's a vertical, right? Yeah. So that's how that works. And so the fees, you asked about that. So if you join and the fees are changing as we speak right now, but it's about $750 to join for 1 year. I spent about almost $1,400 to join for 2 years. And it was actually maybe it was 13 because it was a little bit of a discount to join for 2 years. And look, this is my industry. Why 1 year? Look, I'll join for 15 because I'm in this game.
And to talk about money, part of the reason we launched this podcast is to get solar pros, and I use that word sometimes loosely, unfortunately, is to treat it like a business.
Yep.
Sometimes it takes money to make money. In fact, most of the time, my friends.
It does.
$700, round up to $800. Average commission at our company is how much?
$7,000 per individual.
$7,000.
Yep.
If you would not spend $800 to make $7,000, and that's just if you closed one in a 12-month period,
yep.
Go ahead and end the podcast, my friends. You're at the wrong place. You're not cut out to be a business owner. And I'm sorry for the real talk, but it's real talk. Any best practices that you've learned along the way for BNI and any mistakes you made that you had to pivot?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that question too, Aaron, because look, when we came on board, as a company, we sell in 22 states around the country. We sell virtually. So you pick the states where you want to be in. So BNI is all over the country. So what I did initially when I first came on board with the BNI is I thought, you know what? I want to be in Texas. I want to be in Phoenix. I want to be in Florida. I want to be Massachusetts. I want to be in New Jersey, Delaware. I want to be in all these states. So what I did was I went to the BNI network. I researched the chapters that meet in Delaware or the chapters that meet in Florida. And I searched through and found chapters that had a realtor in the audience, folks that we really want to join hips with. And then so I sat on their meetings virtually. And then what I did was I peeled out the realtor and I peeled out the mortgage person and I scheduled one-to-ones with them. So I would sit in a meeting with 35 people that didn't know me from Adam. I present who I am, what I'm doing, and then I peel off the ones that had the closest connection to what I'm doing, and I scheduled a one-on-one. So I started doing that and doing it rather rapidly, let's say. I would do 2 or 3 a week, which took a lot of bandwidth, a lot of time. What I discovered, Aaron, was going back to square one, that when you're in this BNI, you're developing a relationship, right? And so if you're not in front of someone every week saying the same thing, you almost feel like you're just repeating the same thing. But it's crazy, the memory, if you meet someone and the next day you forget their name. And so every week they just say, hey, Craig Blume, I'm Craig Blume. This is what I'm doing. Craig Blume's I'm leading the national expansion for the fastest growing residential solar company in the United States. That's my opening statement. Everyone in the room could say it. They could repeat it back to me. They probably hear it at night in their sleep because I say it every time. But so that's what we do. And so that's that repetitive nature that puts us in the forefront of their mind when a trigger happens. And it's the relationship, and they want to help Craig Blume, and I want to help them. That's the BNI. I did try, like I said, going into the other states. I still do some of that. I'm just not doing it at the level that I was because I didn't get as much traction, to be perfectly honest, right? So it's when you're in person, reinforcing those things. A lot of the relationships I have, Aaron, it takes 6 months. The guy sees me for 6 months. You can find he's going, okay, I'll agree to. I'll meet with you now, Craig. You're real. You keep coming back.
Yep.
Yep. I'm not going away.
Yeah, you can't force a relationship. It has to be organic.
No, that's right.
To your point.
That's right.
The other thing you said too that I think is really important, and once again, we did this in real estate. I tell people all the time, this solar reminds me of real estate 20 years ago. We're just catching up, which I love. That's the timing that we kicked off with. If you're not top of mind in your referral partner and your client's mind, you're out of mind.
Yep.
And that's a hard one for people to understand. And so I like that you said it takes you saying the same thing every single week. And all of a sudden, 6 months later, someone's, oh, you're solar. And you're just like, are you kidding me? Bro, I've been here every single day telling you. You have to be top of mind. And then once you earn that mind share, you have to remain there.
Yes.
You have to remain there. You do not want to be number 2 or number 3 when someone, client, referral partner, friend is thinking of a solar professional. And so it takes work. And I love that you referenced that it's not, you show up one day and all of a sudden you're going to receive 4 new proposals or whatever. Cool if it works like that, but that's typically not the rhythm.
That's right.
Let's transition over to live events. Not that BNI is not live, but that's more about you receiving because you're giving. Givers gain, by the way, which I love. But live events. This is really what got me excited. I think you do this better than anyone I have met. Can you share some nuggets on why live events are important for your prospecting needs?
Yeah. So look, Aaron, the idea when you come into this platform, you're looking for leads, right? You want to sell solar, right? And how do you do that? There's a plethora of ways to do it. And everyone chooses their own way. So I wanted to lead by example. So as I'm building my team, I'm not going to ask anybody to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself, right? So I've done it all. I've knocked on doors. I go to multiple different leads groups. I was in another one this morning. I love this little group I met this morning. But so big shows, right? The home and garden show, the big elephant in the room, right? So home and garden, everyone's going to come. They're going to be looking for solar. So I put my flag up at the Timonium Fairgrounds here in Maryland. It was a big show. It was over 2 weekends. It was 5 business days on the floor, 8 hours a day, 40 hours really was on the showroom floor. Now I got over 50 leads by being there. And so I've since discovered a lot. We'll talk about that in a minute. But so the home and garden show, I did that one first, just being there and working the show. And I felt like I was going back to selling my examination gowns because when I was doing that kind of thing. And then advanced business systems. Gosh, Lois Elkin, folks, she taught us, Hulk them in, Craig. So you don't sit in the booth. You don't sit down. Man, you're out front. You're bringing them in. You're talking to them. You're getting eye contact. You're saying good morning. Anything to get them to look at you and look at the booth and look what you're doing. So if you just sit there remotely and you're half asleep in the booth, people are going to walk by you. They're not going to pay any attention. So I
think a lot of people miss on that too, by the way. I go to a lot of shows, not on the end of working it like you do. I need to step up my game there. But I go to a lot of shows to gather information and to also network. But you're right. Most are just sitting there thinking that whatever they put up, the flag, the giveaway is going to draw everyone in, and that's it. And for most of us, if I didn't go there to see solar, I'm not going to stop. Yet that could have been a future deal. I love that. Are all, and this is uncensored, man, so hopefully that's okay. Are all shows created equal?
Not at all.
Why?
No, so just because the different crowd, right? It's a different vibe. When folks are coming to the home and garden show, they're looking for things to update their home. Now, there were several other solar companies in the mix, right? So you have competition there. And I had some folks go, Craig, there were 6 other companies there. That's why I would never do that. Really? You don't trust yourself? You don't have enough confidence in yourself that you're not better than them? You can't.
But does it bother you at all?
Hell no. No, excuse me for the French there. But no, it's a big world out there. This is an untapped market. If you go through the scarcity mindset, you're going to have a tough time with this business, man. There's a lot out there that we can help each other. We help each other up. So the other folks, I consider them cousins, brothers, right? Lift them up. We're all in the same industry. And no, it doesn't concern me at all because I'm comfortable in my own skin, Aaron. I know what I am.
The other thing about competition, though, man, is, and I know it's an emerging market here where you and I live. I believe competition pushes them back to us without saying our company name and going through like some of the reasons why.
Yep.
Almost every time, if not every time, when I talk about the warranty we offer, I don't want to get too specific here, where someone's, oh my gosh, the last company was a 20-year. You guys are 30. Like, they just helped me sell that job. So I totally agree. And you also said one of my favorite phrases, live in abundance, not scarcity. If people listening adopt that mindset, your whole life will change. It's just a fact. So you mentioned the Home and Garden show several times. Is that your favorite right now?
Quite honestly, the one that I've been doing probably the most frequently is the Bethesda Farmers Market, right? So why Bethesda, Maryland? If you Google the 10 richest counties in the country, Montgomery County, Potomac, Maryland, Bethesda comes up in the top 4. So there's a reason why I put my flag in that area. Now, the Bethesda Farmers Market is an extraordinary one. It's at the Bethesda Elementary School. So I bought all my exhibit materials, my tent, my booth, the whole 9 yards. I got a solar panel from our installer, and I go pitch my tent, right? So in January, it was pretty cold. I remember March was pretty windy. My booth almost blew away. I had to put weights on the thing to keep it down. But you're out there and you're meeting people. So I have sold several deals being at the Bethesda Farmers Market.
So what did that setup cost you?
So yeah, I was going to explain that to you. Here's the math. It cost me $1,000 to be out there 12 times a year. $1,000, right? Now, we're talking, do you invest in your business? You have to make that decision. Are you going to do that? Yes. So I invested up front. I invested December of last year or November, what it was, right? And then I knew I was going to get started in January. So I'm out every month. And so what's happened recently is Emmett Summers and I have joined forces together as well on the East Coast, the DMV area as we commonly refer to it. And Emmett will come over in the Bethesda Farmers Market, and we're working them together. I'm learning from him as well. He's learning from me, and we're growing. But
let's unpack that for a second too. I love the team aspect for live events for 2 reasons, and there's probably hundreds. One is let's just be honest, right? Uncensored. There are days we're off. Days I had too much fun the night before. The weather's not great. I'm missing a ball game, missing my kid's thing. My wife is mad at me, whatever. We're at mojo. My energy is off. Yet all of a sudden I show up and Craig's freaking bringing it. Guess what? I'm not gonna let him outshine me. Like, energy is contagious. I got to step up, and vice versa. I might be that spark plug that Craig needs that day. The other one, especially for the newer solar people listening, is sharing of cost. I know some people, and it blows my mind. I'm sorry for being passionate about this. $1,000. Oh, I don't have Go figure that piece out. Go sell something you haven't used in your basement in a year. Go fund your startup money. $1,000. I can only speak for our company to make an average $7,000 take home commission. Once again, I would do that all day, every day. And that is one sale. They have bigger goals where they're doing multiple sales an event. I don't even want to go through those numbers, but I would just challenge everybody to think bigger. If you got to start with a partner, I can't stress it enough. Thoughts on that?
No, it's perfect, and that's ideal. And so you need to invest, spend money to make money. I think that's a common phrase.
Farmers Market, the Home and Garden show, any other shows that you've done that you want to do?
I'm exhibiting this Sunday at a show. It'll be the 3rd time I've done this show. They're called Pathways, the Natural Living Expo. And it's going to be in Silver Spring at the Marriott Convention Center. And so I'll be there this coming Sunday. What's that, the 8th, I believe? Yeah, the 8th from 10 in the morning to 6 p.m. that night. And I'll post about it if you're following me on Facebook or LinkedIn. You'll see, some stuff about it. But
yes, you will.
So yeah, yes, you will.
We're going to talk about that in a second, so save it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this show I like because it's about home remedies. It's about home healing, about spiritualists and folks that are typically dialed in more to the earth, right? They're green. They're that type of thing. So that's a really nice fit for the solar. And so that's why I'm there. I put my flag there as well. And so I have sold several deals from being at these as well, and just doing multiple things. And so I was looking forward to this Sunday because you're not just there for the audience. You're there for the exhibitors too, because guess what?
Ooh.
They have houses too. Hello. So if you're not working the room, you're not doing your job.
So Craig, you already know this, but I'm going to go to give an insider tip. That's why I love podcasts, right? I didn't know we were going to go here. I like live events. He's going to get utility bills. He's going to close deals. He's going to make a ton of freaking money. He's also using the vendors around him to sell to. The other big one, and this only works if your company model is like ours, and I know there's a few others that do, thank God. We want to introduce our platform to as many people as possible. So I do very well in the recruiting front at these events because you'll meet people just like Craig who are hustlers. And as you get to know them over 3 days, 12, 15-hour days, you can really get to learn a lot. You can find out whatever they're selling, how much they make. And when they tell you $50, $150, Craig, you're not going to believe it. I make $300 a sale. But Craig, what do you make? And he turns around and says, $7,000. Like, they're doing the same amount of work. They're just going to switch over to solar.
Yep.
So there are so many fronts of why live events are so good. I think the last one too that no one talks about makes you become an expert at your craft. the more you're talking to homeowners
Yeah.
about solar, your value proposition, your elevator pitch, all of that stuff, you got to clean it up. And the only real way to do it is obviously practice, but it's time on task. And Craig, I feel like you've been in the game for 10, 12 years because of your time at these live events, if that makes sense.
11 months.
It's crazy, but you've talked to more homeowners than most solar pros do in 10 years.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
It's huge, man. I want to transition over before we end to your social media presence, specifically on LinkedIn. I know a lot of solar professionals are missing this. You and I were at a live event in Maryland a week ago. Crazy how time flies.
Yes. Yep.
And I gave you a compliment and I meant it. I really did.
Thank
Craig is all over LinkedIn, as am I. Craig crushes me on LinkedIn. I have no problem being a man and admitting that. Something he's doing, and hopefully he doesn't mind me sharing it. I don't even know if it's intentional. It doesn't even matter, but something I picked up on his account. I'm always studying. I'm a student. That's part of the reason I have success. I want to speed it up. If someone's doing something better than me, I got to figure out what they're doing and either copy it word for word or tweak it a little bit if I think there's an improvement. What Craig does, and this is just my opinion of it, of what I've seen on your LinkedIn profile and your posts, he's running it more personal. It's all business minded, but it's more personal with a selfie of him with his video in it, almost like it's like a combination, a blend of Facebook and LinkedIn versus everyone else I see on LinkedIn is just straight business and it's freaking boring. Like it is boring. I might be somewhat interested in solar, but if that's all I'm seeing, I see real estate agents doing this. Stop by my open house. So boring. Stop doing it. Craig puts a personal spin on it. If that's something intentional, anything you want to touch on with what your LinkedIn strategy is?
So I appreciate that. And quite honestly, it's interesting to hear that perspective. That's just me. Look, I'm doing Craig. And so a lot of folks were afraid to get into social media. I remember working at Advanced Business Systems way back in the day, and they said, Craig, you need a LinkedIn account. I'm like, no, I'm a private guy. I'm not doing this. I'm not putting myself out there. I have it Facebook, never. I've since changed all that. Look, this is who I am. I put it out there, and I mix some business and pleasure and do that type of thing. You just live in life. And I think people can relate to you that way. So I do it consistently, Aaron, and that's really the key, right? You've got to do it consistently. I try to do it almost every day. Sometimes it feels like a chore going, what am I going to say about today? You don't need to make it that robotic, let's say, right? It doesn't have to be that. Just speak from the heart, and that's what I try to do. And so I just let folks know, look, I'm creating a brand, and that's really what I'm doing. I'm in the industry. I want folks to know that I'm in this business. I've got folks that have been tracking me for months going, Craig, I don't need it now, but when I do, I'm coming to you. And so that's why we do these things, right? And so my wife would go, Craig, do we have money in the bank yet? I'm like, no, honey, we don't have money in the bank yet, but we're building an empire, honey. We are doing the right things. Trust me on this. Yes, honey, we're good. We're good. So that's what we do with that. But yeah, so I try to do each, and I live in both worlds. I do LinkedIn and Facebook. Others will go off into different platforms and that type of thing. That's really my two go-tos.
Yeah, LinkedIn is slept on, man. It really is. I did a session at our convention 3 or 4 weeks ago. I know you were there talking about LinkedIn, and I don't get why more solar professionals aren't on it. The stat that sealed the deal for me several years ago, I think it was 3 now, was that the average user on LinkedIn, the average account holder, whatever you want to call it, makes 6 figures a year. Think about this. Success leaves clues. Craig talked about why he chose the farmer's market in Bethesda. It's the income bracket that people are in. If you tell me where I can spend time, a majority of the time is going to be hanging around with 6-figure or plus earners, they can afford solar, they can afford batteries, they own houses most of the time, and they sure as heck can be recruited over to my business. Like, it is a trifecta. It is a win. And that's why I love it. I think a lot of people are afraid of it because they don't know how to do it. Did you just jump in? Did you take classes? Like, how did you learn it? Was it trial by fire? What does that look like?
Aaron, I just jumped in, brother. That's it, man. Just put myself in front of the camera. What folks don't see is I put a video out there, and I'll use my Zoom at the home or using it in the phone. But they don't see is the 3 or 4 takes before that. The ones where I fouled up, didn't know the date. Excuse me, where am I again? Okay, cool. Yeah, which good, gotcha. All right, let's do this. And then you're live. But no, you do it enough, it'll start to come naturally. And that's just all it is. It's all this stuff, right? We do enough of it, and it just becomes natural for us. But again, the whole focus of what I'm trying to do, Aaron, is to build that brand. And you're doing the same. And so I so appreciate what you're doing, man.
I appreciate that, man. I tell people a lot too. One of my mentors said this a couple months ago. Although we sell solar, that's our main product, we all own marketing agencies. We are a brand. We are a marketing company. And so if you're not leveraging social media, I agree with Craig. I used to be a little baby about that and say, if you don't want to be on Facebook, we'll figure out another way. I don't anymore. I'll tell a business partner, what are you thinking? It's free. People 15, 20 years ago would have killed for the amount of exposure we can get on this. I checked my LinkedIn stats the other day, and I should have pulled it up for this. I think it was yesterday. I want to say I had 40,000 impressions over the last 7 days on LinkedIn. Some number. I don't even know if that's good or bad. For me, that's like mind-blowing, man.
Dude,
that would have cost me tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And people aren't even doing it, and it's free. Go get uncomfortable. Go lean in. Go push record. Go freaking do it. The other thing you said, too, is, and it's funny, I remember starting a video years ago where I would do 15 outtakes. And although it was a 30-second video, it took me an hour. I got to the point where I stopped caring. I stopped caring about being a perfectionist. I stutter. I get excited. I drool. I do whatever. I don't even care. I post it. Those people aren't going to deter me from what I'm trying to do and the brand I'm trying to put out there. The other thing, too, is, and Gary Vee, I'll credit this man with this, people want people to be authentic.
Yep.
Like, my best videos are not with the podcast camera that looks great. It's with my phone. It's with my kids in the background. It's me moving around. Like, I get the best of results from those, not being polished, making the mistakes. So for anyone sitting on the sideline, just go freaking do it. Just go hit record and watch your life change.
Yep. Love that.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And in closing, where do you see solar going?
Aaron, look, solar is, and here's the crazy part, brother. As busy as you are every day, and as busy as I am every day, it's hard to imagine, but Jonathan Budd tells us, guys, you're just in training. It hasn't really begun yet. I'm like, excuse me? Really? We're making this kind of money, and it hasn't even started yet? Oh, cool. I am definitely in the right place.
Yeah, in fact, it's funny, man. I got in trouble for this the other day, and I'll get in trouble again. I don't really care. It comes from love and contribution. Just know that. Jonathan Budd, I'm going to echo what you just said. He always says we're in the top of the first inning. I actually think that's a flat lie. I really do, and I love this man. I think we're at batting practice. Like, here in Virginia, we're less than 2% market share. You want to hear something funny? I got a game with my kids. I'm all about mindset and awareness. I think it is so freaking important. We have a game with my kids. They're 8 and 11. My wife even plays the game. If we're in the car, we're out and about in the area. It's primarily Virginia, Maryland, D.C. If they see a house with solar and they yell it first, they get $1. I'm teaching them to be aware. And so we're looking, we're hunting. Yeah. Here's the funny part why I bring this up. There are times we might go a week without saying it, where that $1 wasn't even paid, and yet we were out and about for several hours running errands, doing things. And that just reminds me, it reminds them, they'll say it. How come more houses don't have solar? And I said, we got more work to do. Right. I can't talk to all 86 million yet. Right. So once again, those sitting on the sidelines, this opportunity is right freaking in front of you. You just got to lean in, jump in, stop worrying about all the what ifs. 5 years from now, for those of you still sitting on the sideline, you're going to be missing the greatest transfer of wealth, in my humble opinion. And that's coming from a person that's owned several million-dollar businesses. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. The other big thing, I've never seen people do it so quickly. We had a gentleman, I won't say his name. He's been with me 8 months, brand new to solar like me, comes from real estate, Craig. $125,000 he made last month.
That's amazing.
$125,000. I had a team doing $40 million in real estate. We had 6-figure earners for the year. I never had someone do it in a month, much less do it inside of 8 months. Mind blowing with zero experience, man. Like, it's red hot. You got me fired up. We got to get to work, man. I know we didn't talk about this. Are you cool if I give your LinkedIn profile in the description below?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yes, please.
I would challenge everybody, go look him up right now. For those of you that are impatient, don't want to wait for the link. R. Craig Blume. You will see him. He is the one and only. Give him a follow. Give him a shout. You can even ask questions. He's an amazing mentor on our platform, all-around great guy. He comes from contribution, as you can see. Craig, I can't thank you enough. I speak for our audience. This is the first topic we've had about live events. And like I said, there's no one that does it better, man. So keep leading from the front. Keep doing what you expect others to do. I love that mindset, that mantra that you adopt. And just thank you, man. I can't say it enough.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. I so appreciate what you're doing, Aaron. And I'm learned from experts like you every day, man. So thank you.
I love it. I love it.
And I appreciate the opportunity to be here, man. This was big.
Of course, man. Appreciate you making time for us. For those in the audience, Craig and I do this for free. We do it for love. We do it for contribution to make this solar industry better. If you received any value, and I know you did, the best thing you can do to repay us is to like, share this podcast, this episode, whether traditional podcast or on YouTube, with someone you care about, someone else in the game, someone else who's thinking about a career change. Just pay it forward. That's all we ask. Hope everyone has a great day. Be safe and God bless. We'll talk soon.
Yep. Love it. Cheers.